Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome. Rebecca Johns coming to you live this Tuesday evening, July 18th, 2023. I'm grateful for the chance to be with you tonight as we delve into a piece of scripture that I believe has caused a little confusion in the world. Maybe this part of scripture hasn't, but definitely the world's misunderstanding of this section of scripture. And I want to be able to talk to you all about it this evening. If you are new to tuning in to me and my work, I know I'm coming live to a few platforms that I haven't frequented often, and in some cases launching newly on. If you're new to me and my work, my name is Rebecca Johns, and I am a certified holistic health practitioner, a purpose coach, and an ordained minister of the gospel. But in particular, I am an Aramaic speaker. As an Assyrian, ethnically, that's Assyrian, we speak the modern day version of a very ancient language called Aramaic. And really, until about 100 years ago in the West, Aramaic was thought to be a dead language, a language that just stopped existing, like Akkadian or cuneiform. And the truth is that Aramaic has been alive and well, but just among Aramaic speakers. Sounds like it might be a little fancy riddle, but it's not. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Grant. And who's been speaking Aramaic all this time when everyone else thought it was a dead language? The Aramaic speakers. So welcome, and thank you for being here. I am the executive director of a ministry, a nonprofit based in Southeast Michigan called Heaven on Earth Ministries. We are an outreach type of ministry. Our desire is to help people end suffering in their lives, activating the great I am. I'm also the founder of The Godly Woman, where our holistic healthcare practices, our classes, our products are all made available for people to live their best lives. I use these platforms of social media to reach out, to bring exposure to my work. It's true. But it's also so that I can bring a message that is empowering to the world. A message that quite goes against the modern Western culture's take on Jesus of Nazareth and his teachings. Tonight, I'd like to talk about something that we see in the book of John, the Gospel of John, in chapter 8, specifically verse 12, and how we have perhaps taken this sentiment out of context, misusing it because we misunderstood it. Let's read. In the book of John, chapter 8, verse 12, it says, Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. I'm going to read to you now from a commentary written by Dr. Rocco Errico and Dr. George Lamsa. And this commentary specifically is on the Aramaic interpretation, translation, interpretation, Semitic view of the book of John. Let's read what this brief paragraph says. It says, light is the most precious element in the world. Some people would give everything they have for the light of their eyes. Light, also symbolic of God, who is the light and life of the world. According to chapter 1 of Genesis, the first thing God said was, Let there be light. Metaphorically, this means let there be enlightenment, intelligence, and understanding. Light travels faster than anything. It is also symbolic of the Holy Spirit. And like light, God's Spirit, the divine presence, manifests everywhere in the universe. Wherever there is light, there is God. Light is the very source of human existence. Without light, we would have no food, clothing, and other necessities of life that are supported by the sun. Jesus' teaching is a great luminescence shining in a dark and periodically violent world. Anyone who practices his teaching does not walk in darkness, parentheses, ignorance, but in light. That is spiritual intelligence and understanding. His teaching dispels the shadow, fear, of death and brightens the hearts and minds of the human family. So, what was distinct about this teaching then? And what do we have that we can put our hands on with it today? What was distinct about that teaching was that Jesus did not keep the distinction of light to himself. We read in Matthew where he said to the people, "You are the light of the world." Noohra alma, the light of the world. He spent his ministry teaching us that we were one with him, we were one with the Creator, that we were equal and joint heirs to the kingdom of heaven as Jesus of Nazareth himself. Yet in modern day Christianity, we're not very often taught or reminded that we are the light of the world as Jesus of Nazareth was. Most often in the world of religion today, we are being harangued for our humanity, hung for our humanity. We are told we are sinners. We are told we are born of iniquity. And we are established in that so that many people are resistant to their own human nature, condemning of their own human nature. And yet it's so funny that the stories of Jesus' life, he never condemned sinners. He just said, quit it. Okay, stop it. If you're doing that and it's hurting you, stop doing it. In the East, we say cut it off. If your hand is causing harm to you, cut it off. It doesn't mean cut it off. It's like the light, we say cut it off. It means end it. Stop that. Who Jesus really had issue with were the religious types, the dogmatic, the elite, the self-proclaimed holy, the religiously dogmatic who established rules, policies, and procedures and convinced the general public that they were not worthy. The culture of that time required people to go to the temple, that the high priest would speak on behalf of God to the people. The mere fact that Jesus was teaching people to pray and directly to Awun, our Father. In the East, that doesn't mean just Father like Dad. It means beloved one, the most precious one. We say Babi, Baba, Father, Awa. We say it as a term of endearment. We say it to spouses and children. The way in the West we might use the word beloved or dear. sweetheart. We allow those to be terms that we say to a lover, to our parents, to our children, to our best friends. They are universal terms of endearment. And in the East, so is the term Awa, Father. So when Jesus prayed to our Father in heaven, our Creator in spirit, he used a term that in the East would let people know right away that that relationship is precious, that entity is precious and endearing and endeared, and that the bond is intimate and loving. And it would make sense. Because if Jesus is saying we are descendants of the Creator, then why would that endearment not be in place? When I gave birth to my first child, I held him in my arms and I looked at him and I was endeared to him immediately. We are one. He is me. He's a piece of me in the world. So that it is a disconnect between parent and child that we harm that very part of ourselves. And we put that on the Creator. We think if we are that way unto our children, then the Creator must be that way unto us. But that is not what Jesus said the Creator was. Jesus did not say the Creator was an entity that sat some super somebody someplace that sat in judgment and condemnation of us. He said, Jesus said, God is love. God is spirit. And that precious spirit dwells itself in and through us as us. I often share with people that I hospiced my parents and I was with them from the beginning of their illness and ailments to the very end, literally every moment. And as I watched my parents take their final breath, I saw them go in that breath. The difference between my mother with breath in her and breath out of her was all the difference in the world. It was the difference between life and death. Breath and no breath is life or death. Because it is truly the breath of life, the breath of spirit, the breath of God that is the life in us and is the light in us. I remember when I signed up the hospice care agency that would come into our home and help me care for my mother. It was really tricky. She didn't have the type of diseases that would be such a clean cut evidence, but she was suffering and I had to advocate for her to receive that care at home. And I remember when the nurse came out to evaluate her, she said, "Rebecca, here's the question that our doctor will ask that I need you to answer earnestly. Do you believe that your mother is possibly going to go in the next 6 months?" And I took out my phone and I showed a picture to this woman of my mother from 2 years prior and 1 year prior and 6 months prior. And I said, "Ellen, you look at my mother. Look at these. And then you look at my mother. And tell me what you think." She looked at all the pictures. You could tell she was just endeared. And she looked over at my mother sitting in her recliner in her little twitchy state towards the end. And she said to me, "Ah, Rebecca, her light is going out." And I said, "I know." Some of us, our light goes like a switch. Boop, and our light is out. Some of us, we go, our light is on a dial. We fade out. And my mother faded out. And I watched it. My father was a light switch. But regardless of what lamp type we are, the truth is we are keepers of the light. Innana, Noohra alma. I am the light of the world. But so are you. And how different of a world we would be producing if we taught the teachings of Jesus from what he actually said. Not the mythological and corrupt misinterpretation and mistranslation of what he said. Not the manipulated by socio-religious political agendas of what the teachings were. But the texts are there. They are sitting here. You want to know where they are? The Codex Ambrosianus that holds the Old Testament is in the Ambrosian Library at Milan, Italy. It has been identified as 5th century AD. The Mortimer Macaulay manuscript for the New Testament has been variously identified as 6th or 7th century AD. Comparisons have been had with the Peshitta manuscripts in the Morgan Library, New York, manuscripts in the Freer Collection, Washington, D.C., with the Aramia edition, and with a manuscript of the Peshitta Old Testament in the British Museum, the oldest datest biblical manuscript in existence. It's important then that we understand the reality of what is being said in these pages if we're going to build a global religion, an institution that calls itself worthy of judging humanity. Jesus himself didn't come to judge and condemn humanity. Jesus said, I did not come to condemn you. I came to set you free. From what? The lie. The lie that you are anything but the light. The lie that you're this 3D physical image, and that is all. The lie that you need a man in a robe in a building to tell you your worth, to give you permission to be atoned, to give or take away blessing. What would our world look like today if you and I immediately took responsibility that we are the light of the world? Say it with me. Innana, Noohra alma. Innana, Noohra alma. I am the light of the world. Listen, if you're walking around thinking that you're good for nothing, you really don't have much to live up to and measure up to. It's pretty easy to get away with good for nothing. Doesn't take much. Just don't die in your sleep the night before, and you'll wake up the next day, and you can be good for nothing all over again. But to be the light of the world, that requires some responsibility. That means how I live matters, what I say matters, what I do matters, how I be emotionally, what I think mentally, how I operate spiritually, how I conduct myself sexually. Where am I? Who am I? What am I? Suddenly that matters. If I am the light, do I really live like that? Do I love like that? Do I empower others like that? Do I call forth others like that? The light sheds light. And yet, somehow, we're in a world where Christians are not known for that. Somehow, we're in a world where Christians are known for hate, where Christians are known for condemnation, where Christians are known for judgmentalism, hypocrisy, pedophilia, bigotry, duplicity. And I've talked with a lot of you. Some of you won't even call yourselves Christian anymore. You're trying to find a new word that'll be able to describe that you are a follower of the teachings of Jesus without identifying in such a way that the people in the world will think you're like them, them Christians. Well, that in and of itself should tell you how Christians have branded themselves and how Christians have branded Jesus. Riddle me this, Riddler. How do we have a man spend years of his life and die to be able to express his love, compassion, and commitment to the empowerment and truth of the human spirit, only to become the poster child for one of the most hateful, condemning religions in the world? How does that happen? Where did we go wrong? And how do we set it right? Hey, and how about this? If you're not interested, then how weird is it not to be not interested in being the light of the world? I have some people who are like, Rebecca, I don't even want to hear the corrected version of Christianity. I've just had enough. It's great. I love you. Love your vibe. You're legit. I'll take some of your classes, but I can't do this whole Jesus story. I'm up to here, uncle. I don't even want to know. And I'm thinking, can you imagine if Gandhi was known for being a divider of nations when really he was trying to create unity? Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't it be weird if Mother Teresa became known for poisoning people when really she was out to try and help and heal people? Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that be weird? And yet we think nothing is weird about having Jesus be the mascot of a religion named after him that completely mistranslates, misinterprets, and misapplies his teachings. That's not weird. Like, we haven't done anything about this. We're completely good having Christianity be this dark religion, this cult. It's one of the saddest things I think there is. It's why it's my mission to rebrand it. Listen, if Christianity has hurt you, I'm just going to say generically, I'm going to say it in a generic sentence. If you've been hurt by Christianity, I apologize. That shouldn't have happened. That's like being sexually abused by your father. That's like being neglected and abandoned by your mother. Meaning, what should have been in divine order, the source of love and light and life for you, harmed you. That's not how it's supposed to go by design. If that's what's happening, there's an interruption to the design. There's been a problem. There's a glitch in the matrix. And I want to be known for interrupting that glitch. I want to make sure y'all know where to find me and the teachings that I put into this world that are based on the original language of Jesus the Christ. I want you to have access to these words and this face and this mouth and this spirit that is going to insist for the rest of her life, Innana Noohra Alma. I am the light of the world, and so are you. And the message of Ishwat Nasraya, Joshua of Nazareth, was clear. Those of you who believe the teachings, those of you who will take this on, those of you who will believe in what I am saying to you, you will do the works that I have done and greater than these. And that might just seem like poppycock and hogwash to somebody else, but that is the gospel to me. I believe that if I too can sit in the consciousness of the Creator, in the consciousness of the Messiah, I too believe that if I can dwell with my inner self, that I will honor my inner self, that I can honor my outer self, and that I can honor you also. And so if I know I am the light, and I take my part and responsibility of shedding light in this world, if I'm willing to do the work where I pull out of me the things that impede my light, that healing work of the human, so that the light of the spirit can shine through her, then I know I have a chance of activating the light in you. And if you are enlightened, and I am enlightened, out of our ignorance of human being and into the wisdom of soul and spirit, then what might be possible in our work, in our ministry, in our marriages, with our children, in our health, with our sex, with our money, in our society? What would it look like when people had a need if we were all our own version of Jesus walking around? What would it look like in households? What would it be like between mothers and their children? What would it be like between wives and husbands? What would it be like? What would it feel like inside of a home? How would people wake up? What would they eat? How would they tend to their bodies if they genuinely took responsibility for Innana Nuharat Alma? I am the light of the world. When you're pigeonholed and categorized and inventoried as already a sinner born of iniquity. Listen, iniquity is no small word. Iniquity is the genuine, authentic, willful, adversarial state against God. And God is just a European word for good, God. So to say that you are a sinner born of iniquity, it means you came from and are no good. You were born rotten. Now listen, I appreciate that in the world there is something called the human condition. I appreciate it. I appreciate that we are animals, right? I appreciate that we are reptilian brained, if you will. That, like my dogs, we may have some core, fundamental, driven compulsories. We want to eat and drink. We want to fornicate. We need to eliminate waste. We need to sleep. And we need shelter. That's it. And as long as those things, our primal needs, are met, that's all the animal needs. So I'll admit that there's not a lot of elevation in that animal. I often share that when my next door neighbor opens her garage door, my dogs go nuts. Because as soon as they hear that, the chain and whatever of her garage door, they are not thinking, oh, it seems like the woman in the townhouse next door is home. They react. It's in the machine of them. It's a threat. There's a noise. That's a threat. They are not aware of self and other and triggers. But we can be. We have the opportunity, regardless of this reptilian-brained flesh creature, to stay grounded in a spiritual plane, to attune. That's why Jesus taught prayer. In Aramaic, slotha. Prayer, slotha. It comes from the root word in Aramaic, sla, which means to set a trap. And so when we pray, we mean to set a trap for the mind of God that I would have it for myself. Setting a trap for the mind of God. That it would not be the mentality and emotionality and physicality of this chick that calls the shots, but that it would be from a divine place, from the Noohra, the light. That the light would illuminate to give me greater perspective and to operate, to be able to produce greater in the world. We all love to be around people who love the light and are the light and express the light. We're like, love them. Yes, of course. But we have that same light within ourselves. If we're so willing to admit, acknowledge, and take responsibility for it. Does your spouse know you as the light of the world? Or a nag? Or a liar? Or a cheater? Do your children know you as the light of the world? Or hypercritical and condemning and fear-mongering? How do you know yourself? Do you know you're the light of the world? And if so, do you treat yourself like it? Do you walk like it? Do you live like it? And if not, what do you need? What will it take? Perhaps you just don't know how. Perhaps you're still deciding whether or not you believe all this. It's been remarkable to me in my time doing my work that people are so easily willing and so easily pliable into saying awful things about themselves. They're willing to own the most wretched interpretation of themselves. But yet they struggle with acknowledging that they are the light. And I wonder sometimes, is it because they have been convinced of their worthlessness, that they are dark, that they are just this? Is it they hold themselves, they hold against themselves the mistakes and what their human has done in the past? Is it to admit it, they'd have to be responsible for it? And as long as I don't say it, then I don't have to deal with it. What is it for you? What is it for you? What deters you from taking full responsibility for that you are the light of the world? And that simple narrative could redefine every way you live, everything you have, every emotion, every thought. It's redefining. But if we let it to be. And so I invite you to step into the fold of Heaven on Earth Ministries and the Godly Woman. Join us on our Facebook group, Activating Your Great I Am. Visit us at livinggodspromises.com. We are a resource for you to reflect, detect, and correct, that you would live the fullness of what's available to you in this lifetime. Look, who needs regrets? Let alone who needs regrets when you are the light of the world? So some of you already know this, but some of you might not. Let me grab my phone over here so that I can tell you a couple of things. We have coming up some amazing programs that will empower you in walking your walk as the light. And so let me get you hip to a few things. If you go to livinggodspromises.com, you're going to see that our first offering coming up is July 30th. July 30th, we're beginning a 7-week program in Let There Be Light. It is based on the book Let There Be Light by Dr. Rocco Errico, Aramaic scholar and author, speaker, and minister. Let There Be Light, July 30th. Starting Thursday, August 10th, for 1 hour a week for 4 weeks, is Deconstructing Christianity. And for those of you that find this conversation fascinating, that you are fascinated by the true interpretation, translation, you're interested in the history and the context, you're curious about how this religion of 40,000 plus denominations came to be what it is, it's a powerful program. 4 weeks, $44. On August 11th, that's a Friday night from 6 to 9, is our monthly offering of Spiritual Gifts Workshop. This month we're focusing on healing with God. Healing with God. Last month we spoke, the topic was hearing from God, honing your spiritual gifts to be able to hear from God. This month we're talking about activating and honing your gifts to heal with the Creator. Our flagship program is coming up Monday, August 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We have the 90-day transfiguration. And look, the 90-day transfiguration is for people who want to get stuff done in their lives and things resolved in their lives. And I mean each and every area of your life is going to be addressed. Your business and career, your money, your self-care, your friends and family circle, romance and intimacy, spiritual and personal growth, your social life and leisure, and your physical environment. We're going to take on 8 pillars of your life and produce some results. However, fair warning, you're in a group coached weekly for an hour, there is homework, and you are assigned an accountability buddy. You'll have 2 buddies in this class, a buddy that walks with you the first half of the program, and then there'll be a switch and a buddy that walks with you the balance of the program. That program is $429 and goes for 13 weeks. This is a great program for anyone who wishes they could work with me one-on-one, but maybe doesn't have the budget for that. My hourly sessions are $125. So this is 13 weeks at $429. Remember, 10% of all of these programs with the Godly Woman does benefit Heaven on Earth Ministries. My apprentice, Dina says this is a life-changing class. Thank you, Dina. My apprentice, Jackie Moore, is going to be with me on that program. You'll get to know her on Monday nights at 8 o'clock, but on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for 4 weeks, starting August 15th, the very next night. And she's teaching Detox Your Life. If you're someone who's like, I don't know which stuff is in my personal hygiene products, my household products, my foods, if you'd like a walkthrough for 4 weeks, we're doing nutrition, your personal hygiene products, your household products, and your medicine cabinet. Get the toxins out and get nature's alternatives in. That is going to be led by Jackie Moore. Lastly, that same night, 1 hour later, I'll be teaching Deliverance. Deliverance is a 6-week class. It is 1 hour each week where we are going to do a deep dive into the patterns that have been bondage points, strongholds for you and your family, and the action plan to break those chains. So that is a program. You'll have a buddy in that program as well. And it's a program really meant to empower you and the patterns and strategies of life that you use to go beyond the strongholds and struggles. So if you go to livinggodspromises.com, you're going to see all of those programs. And remember, if you are struggling financially, you're dealing with any kind of hardship, and you'd like to participate, please send me an email to Rebecca@livinggodspromises.com. Let me know what you can cover of your tuition, and we will speak with you about processing a scholarship so that you can still participate. Okay? My kids heard the words the 90 day, and I said she may want to take it this time around. It would be very, very valuable. Most of us are not taught how to bring success into our life through a balanced life. We're taught how to get success by chasing something in particular so hard and with so much drive that every other area of our life is thrown off course. So we get this thing at the expense of all the rest. And so the 90-day transfiguration really helps you bring balance into your life and move all of your areas of life forward week by week over these 13 weeks. So it is my pleasure to bring you these programs via the Godly Woman. 10% of all proceeds to the Godly Woman go to Heaven on Earth Ministries. It's the way we keep our nonprofit organization flowing, aside from the donations that we receive. And if you would like to donate to Heaven on Earth Ministries to keep programs like these free lives going, please give to Heaven on Earth Ministries via livinggodspromises.com. You can give via PayPal and Cash App, or you can Zelle Rebecca@livinggodspromises.com. Please make a point of finding us everywhere. I am on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. And I'd love to connect with you in all of those platforms. So please don't be shy to do that. And if you have a need, whether it's a prayer request or a need for healing or a need for support, please don't hesitate to reach out. When you visit livinggodspromises.com, you can also see that there is an opportunity to schedule one-on-one sessions with me. So you might consider doing a courtesy call, a connect call that's free. Or you might know that you need more than a meet and greet. You need time with me. And if that's the case, there are sessions there that you can book, holistic healthcare and purpose coaching sessions for 30 or 60 minutes. I will be back on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on all of these platforms. for Wisdom Wednesday, where we answer questions. So come with your questions tomorrow morning, and I will be bringing some questions that I've received via email to be able to answer regarding the Bible, relationships, and more. I look forward to seeing you all in the morning. God bless you. Peace.